Test, test. Test, test. Can you hear me? Can you hear your lovely Oshi? Wait, I realize the background music has probably been playing mega uber soft recently. Maybe not. I don't know. How's the sound? How's the sound? How's the mixing? Hope everyone's doing well. Hi, Ellie. Hi, Ash. Hi, Snuggy. Hope you're all doing fine. Hope you're all having a wonderful night. A wonderful Tuesday. A wonderful Tuesday. Great Tuesday for teaching. Not that I have... Not that I have anything crazy elaborate. But we can talk about some cool stuff tonight. You guys have such great emotes. I sound amazing as always, huh? Good. Good. I'm glad you think I sound amazing. I'm glad you think I sound amazing. I do always sound amazing. Especially when I use wacky voices like Kermit the Frog. Isn't it the best? Isn't it the best? But yeah, I mean, today has been like... I want to say today has been one of the most productive Tuesdays I've had in recent history. Because I went into work on time, and then I just immediately started solving problems, and we had a meeting with it. So it was like my manager has like 20 people in his group, right? And it was like we had this like skip level meeting, all of us, with his boss's boss. So that's my boss's boss's boss. So he's like, I guess has like 600 people under him, under his levels. But he was chatting, and he was like pretty down to earth. He was like pretty down to earth. He was like, oh yeah, I mean, to be honest, you guys and your raises and your salaries, you know, that just is what it is. It sucks. You might not be happy with them, but to be honest, that's like, it doesn't even have to do with who, like, it doesn't even have to do with your performance. It doesn't even have to do with your performance. You just get what the great company deals to you. More or less. Great grand boss? Exactly. Great grand boss. Gee, thanks. I mean, he kept it pretty real, right? He was like, it was weird because normally like managers or like higher level management is like, eh. But he was, not only was he like an engineer, he was apparently like just a straight up math person. That's what he got his degree in. He got his degree in math, right? And then I think at some point he was like some like military commander. He's like, oh yeah, there was a time where I like commanded a tank group. And I was like, huh? Tank commander? But he was pretty real. He's like, yeah, so what's gonna happen is your boss manager son, we're gonna sum up all the salaries of everyone under him. The big company that you work for, big mother company, is gonna be like, okay, the average salary increase for this year is gonna be like whatever percent, 3%, and then your boss is going to get the total of all your salaries times 3%, and that's how much allowance he has to give to all of you for raises. So it doesn't even really matter how well you do. He can only give so much money in raises. He just is what it is. It sucks. I'm sorry. But I mean, he seemed to like at least care about how we were doing, because he was like, yeah guys, I mean, I want you to know, raises are like mother company stuff, but if there's literally anything else we can do for you, like freaking, you guys want to have donuts you guys want to go out to eat every week, you can do that like literally every week. Because if we have someone who for some reason, you know, is is staffed wrong and isn't working a project, that costs us like $250 an hour. Which means over the course of a 40-hour work week, that's like $10,000 right there. One person who isn't properly assigned, doesn't have tasking, costs $10,000 a week. So, I mean, if you guys want to go out and have a fucking party every week, a party that costs like $200, $300 for you guys, it's fine. It's literally just 1 hour. So just do it. He like looked at my manager. He's like, you want to go have lunch? You want to take him out to lunch every week? Do it. It's fine. It doesn't even matter. You spent 9 hours, 50 minutes watching me this month? Well, to be fair, I've been a slacker this month. I've been slacking on the streaming. A smart tank commander? I mean, you have to remember that I think to be a commander or to be like an officer in whatever the military, I think you have to have a degree to be an officer. Your company's CEO sent a video of him riding in a tank? What? Hanbu, why did you... Was he just doing it for shits and giggles? For shits and giggles, he just riding around in a tank? I think one of the guys that works at one of the companies we partner with owns an active tank. Like the gun is functional. And you're not supposed to have those. I think he had the demilitarized tank, right? And what I heard is he had the demilitarized tank, and some movie wanted to shoot a movie with a tank in it. So they rented his tank, and in order to have the movie do like whatever special effects simulation rounds, they re-enabled the cannon. They re-enabled his demilitarized tank's cannon. So now he has a fully functional tank. That's the word on the street. That's the word on the street. Of course, he's like some old white dude who lives in the South and has a lot of money because he works in engineering. He's like old and considered like an expert in his field in engineering. So he has like a ton of money. But he has a completely functional tank. Doesn't just drive it. Actually, like the gun works. Is what I hear. The world is crazy, chat. The world is crazy. Yeah, Mystery, what I'm to understand is they do when they like demilitarize them, they like fill the gun with concrete or something like that. They do something like that should make it like never functional practically ever again. But this movie company, I guess, rented his tank and, you know, somehow found some way to undo this process. They welded up? Yeah, that makes sense. They entirely close off the gun. But I don't know. Maybe it's a crock of shit, but I don't think so. He seems like totally the right kind of old white redneck dude to have a tank. And I don't know how that sort of story would just manifest into existence if there wasn't some like sort of backing. Consider secured his job 40 years old. Yeah, I mean, that's how this works, right? Why did my... Wait. Ellie, you freaking trolled me so hard because I saw the little notification pop up on my stream preview and I was like, oh, what happened? And I look and I was like, text-to-speech, how come I didn't hear anything? How come it bugged? But freaking Ellie trolling with a blank text-to-speech. Hello, Chibiwaka. Welcome to stream. We're just doing some shits and giggles chat for now while we get all warmed up and squared away. Guys, I'm freaking... Speaking of old rich people doing crazy shit, have you heard of this super dystopian thing happened this week? Hold on, let me find a news article. So what happened is there's this like billionaire, I think billionaire? Must be a billionaire with the amount of money he spent. There is this billionaire who is spending tons of money to try to counteract aging. Okay? His name is Brian Johnson. And what apparently he did this week... No, not talking about the X-Men. Not talking about the X-Men. But this week, this guy replaced all of his... Hello, Great Crab Hype. Thanks for the follow. This freaking dystopian existence of this billionaire is he spent however ungodly amount of money. I think they said on average he spends like a couple $1 million a week trying to fight his aging. But he spent money this week to replace all of his blood plasma with some artificial blood plasma thing. Some replacement. Okay? And he... Hold on, I don't want to misname what he replaced his plasma with. But the fact that people do that with literally... It's literally like... They're literally just replacing their body. Perfectly good body. They're just like... To him, it's like swapping the oil. Why? Because he's hoping to not age. Which is like extra dystopian when you think about it, because it's like, this is probably one of those guys who's like, I am super rich and now I'd like to live forever. I'd like to find immortality so then I can exploit my richness forever. In perpetuity. In perpetuity, baby. English is hard. English is hard. And freaking, that's so dystopian, because that just means his money will continue to be. It's not like one of those things where like these rich people eventually die and then they stop doing evil rich people things, right? Because you know, at some point, if you're a billionaire, there's probably some level of like, let's be honest, you don't become a billionaire by not being selfish, right? You're totally doing some evil billionaire shit if you're a billionaire. Yeah, we're talking about Brian Johnson, Ellie. Ash, I am not 9,000 years old, okay? Okay? And if you ever insinuate that I'm over 22 again, you will regret it. You will regret life. Okay? But this freaking guy replaced his blood plasma with, I guess it's called albumin. I don't understand what the purpose of this is. I don't really because especially from what I read is like they did the like total plasma exchange replacement or total plasma exchange or whatever it's called, the procedure, and then the doctor that looked at the plasma that they pulled out of his body was like, this is the cleanest plasma I've ever seen in my life. This is the cleanest plasma I've ever... So it wasn't even like... There wasn't even anything wrong with him. He's like, oh, I guess it's time for an oil change. Like, I want to remind you guys I want you to remind you guys that Iron Mouse needs plasma to live. Iron Mouse needs plasma for the transfusions that she requires to live. And this guy's just like, I feel like I could use something new. I'm gonna get rid of my plasma. Are you freaking kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? Mouse is literally like in danger of dying without plasma, and he's like, I'm feeling something new. Let's throw this stuff out. That way I can go on and I can try to extend my lifespan, and then I can live forever. Mwahahaha. Mwahahaha. That's like, is honestly some like evil villain bullshit. Oh god. He like straight up some Dr. Evil ass terrible person bullshit. But yeah, I don't even understand. And I hear what you guys are talking about with the telomeres or telomeres, and those are, so for people who might not know, those to my understanding are like, so your DNA is like a big novel book that describes how to build your body, right? And what happens is every time your cells reproduce is like a little bit of the start of the book and a little bit of the end of the book get deleted, right? So what the telomeres is they're just like a bunch of gibberish at the start of your book and at the end of your book, so that every time your cells reproduce and you delete just a little bit, you delete one of those letters on each side, when you delete those telomeres, it's fine. It's fine. You don't lose any important data, and then you don't develop cancer and die. That's what the telomeres are. So when you talk about like the importance of telomeres in aging, is like people eventually get old and their cells have reproduced so many times that they've started to actually delete like important data in the DNA, or mutate important data in the DNA. But apparently that's not in the plasma. So who the frick knows why this guy was replaced his plasma? We should try out being immortal? Yes, exactly, Karen. But it's honestly ridiculous. Also, what he said, this is like extra bullshit. What I think I remember reading is Brian Johnson, this mega anti-ager, right? Wait. Let's go here. This mega anti-ager was like, I'm at a new PR. New PR for not aging. New PR. I age at a rate of 0.64 times the speed of a normal person. So that means I celebrate my birthday once every 19 months. I have never heard such bullshit in my life. I have never heard such bullshit in my life. This man out here, he's like, yes, my plan, I'll be in my 60s, but I can tell people I'm in my 40s. It's mega bullshit. It's mega bullshit. Why do we store computer data on magnetic tape? That's like way old school nowadays. I don't think, like, there's no magnetic tape in any like modern computer. It gets stored in capacitors. The magnetic tapes, I guess, are like, if you guys have cassette players, that's technically, from my understanding, how they work, is they like, it's a bunch of little like iron grains in the tape that like cause different resonances electromagnetically. Dude said he's trying to get to 18 years, like, so what I've heard is he's like half joking when he says that. He's like, oh yeah, my joke is that I'd like to be like 18 years. Freaking, first of all, red flag. That's some, okay, we love to clown on Leonardo DiCaprio because Leonardo DiCaprio doesn't date anyone over 25, but like, this guy's like actual red flag. This guy's flag is freaking crimson. Crimson, the color of blood, which is probably not the color of his blood now that he has no normal plasma. Now that he has albumin. Magnetic tape is used for data and data archival sites? Really? That sounds so... I feel like you probably can't get much data density on that. Like, just physically, how much data can you pack per area compared to a bunch of transistors and capacitors? Interesting. It does make sense that they to me that they last longer in optical discs. I mean, you and I both know that optical discs are fricked up. Anyone from my generation knows how easy it is to get optical discs messed up, even from like the tiniest nick. And I think even just like UV rays and stuff, normal light stuff slowly damages them. Dude is walking black flag? Yeah, I mean... Fujifilm got nearly 600 terabytes on a magnetic tape? I don't understand how... What physically they're doing in process to have that much data density. That's wild. That's wild. I also wonder, like, if they do have like really high data density, which is the assumption, right? If you're storing almost 600 terabytes on anything, you better have really high density. I wonder if it's like really vulnerable to just tiny changes, like even like I said, UV or other rays can easily
Bell's boobs have high density.
Excuse me? Excuse me? I don't think they're that dense. Right? If they were really that dense, they wouldn't be as jiggly, right? Maybe, I mean, they're not like super solid, hard or anything.
Sorry, Bell's boobs have low density.
Actually, let's just stop talking about this. Let's just stop talking about this. All I could think of was density being a deciding factor in whether things float in water. And I no longer want to speak about this. Climate-controlled, dimly lit room? Yeah, that makes sense. Your mom floats because she's all fat. Because she's all fat. But frickin', honestly, like I said, it's so hellishly dystopian. Thank you for the nuts. It's so hellishly dystopian that this frickin' rich guy, this mega billionaire, who has a ton of money is like, I think I'll go for an oil change today, and just swaps out his plasma. Meanwhile, there are people who literally, like, need that shit to survive. Need that shit to survive. Rich people will always try to cheat death. It's in their nature. I mean, do you think that's true? No, I don't think that's true. I think there's like, I think the death cheaters out there are a small portion of everyone. I think there's like crazy poor people who also would, you know, try and cheat death. It's just there's some like, they're like complete wackos, right? It's like one in like every 1,000 or 10,000 people is probably like a cheat death wacko, and one in however many people is a super rich person, right? But by virtue of them being wackos, right? Rich people have a tendency to be wackos. I feel like there just happens to be a higher overlap. But I don't think all rich people become wackos, who become death cheaters, right? I don't think Mr. Beast is a death cheater. No, I think Mr. Beast is just, you know, just another rich person. I don't think he probably cares at all about that. Not that Mr. Beast is a good... I'm not saying that Mr. Beast is a good guy, but I don't think he's a death cheater. I think they're just different brands of wackos, right? Like, I don't think like Kanye is a death cheater, right? Kanye is also a wacko. But he's just a different type of wacko, right? You would not be surprised if he was the billionaire's test rat for this shit? Wait, are you talking about Brian Johnson is not a billionaire? He's just a 400 million, just a 400 millionaire. Yep. Here I am, contemplating my rent, and he's just a 400 millionaire. Hey, just a man, such little money. How much is he worth? Let's check real quick, because maybe he is just a 400 million. What a dystopian world we... Oh, also, freaking... The fucking realest shit I've ever heard also happened when I was talking with my great-grand boss today. He's like, what other ideas do you guys have? Do you have ideas that you would want to make work better? You know, like I said, you can just go out for lunch every fucking day if you want. Have manager-san buy lunch for you guys it doesn't fucking matter. But someone was like, we would like to be able to afford housing. Mothership Fortune 500 company should purchase an apartment building out here and should provide affordable housing for our high cost of living area. And he's like, I'm on board. But being on board, I'd like you to know that C-suites of Mothership company will never allow this. That's just not gonna happen. But I'm on board with you. That also is like sort of dystopian, right? Because then you end up with that same dynamic of way back in the day when they had mining towns, and the company that employed all the miners to do all the mining owned everything in the town. That's like, you're slowly moving back into some other level of dystopia. There's a reason most rich people don't care about living forever. They brainwash their children into succeeding them. I mean... Wait. Ash, did you just admit to being rich? Maybe we should make our wedding legal. Anyway. I mean, I don't know. I think in some sense what you leave behind as a legacy is important, right? And your children matter. So I think it's totally reasonable to have some idea that your children in some way carry on your legacy. I mean, does that mean it's wrong for them to have their children, you know, continue their legacy? I don't think so. Right? Like, recently, is it LeBron? Super megastar NBA player LeBron and his kid are the first ever father-son duo in the NBA? Lakers superstar LeBron James and son Bronny set to play together in historic Yeah. Is it wrong? Is it wrong that LeBron, you know, more or less, regardless of what you say about, you know, luck or talent, you and I both know that in order for Bronny to become an NBA player, there was some level of LeBron, you know, supporting and pushing him towards it, right? Maybe not forcing it, but you and I both know that there's some support there that you would never have if you weren't the son of one of the greatest NBA players of all time. Bring back script. Need bell buckers. Let's start the first ever bell colony. Some parents force their children into careers or success. Okay, but is that different if they're rich and they're like, we want you to take the family business, or if they owned a small business, right? They owned a restaurant and they're like, we want you to take over the family restaurant. We want you to take over the family laundromat. Would that be crazy? I mean, I don't think it's necessarily the best parenting practice, but I wouldn't call those people like crazy, right? So I don't know if I would call like the super mega CEOs or the super mega rich people crazy either. And I think you can only force so much on your kids too, right? You can only force so much. Otherwise they just, if they are against it enough, it just doesn't work out, right? That's why even like okay, just suspend your political gag reflex for a moment, but like I think that one non-Trumper daughter of Trump, you know, they couldn't force her to support her pops. And is it bad if, you know, Asian parents are like, you have to become doctor, you have to become lawyer, that's what you need to aim for, that's the only thing you should be aiming for when you're in like elementary and middle school and high school, right? If they're like, your options are doctor and lawyer, is that, I'm not going to tell them that they're like horrible parents for that, right? Because you know, even if the kid doesn't become doctor or lawyer or engineer, even, you know they'll probably still support their kid, right? I hope. One would hope. But I do want to say, you know, when one day me and Ash adopt a kid, They're gonna be an engineer or they're gonna suffer. At least STEM. At least STEM. If not STEM, then they get this. Have I played Factorio before? No. I have not. Is it good? I mean, I've heard about a lot of games that are like sort of cool building, you know, design type games. And I'm sort of on the fence about all of them because whenever I think about like, I think a lot of people think of Minecraft that way, and I don't. Minecraft really doesn't really interest me at all. So I feel like there's like some off-putting connection in my brain between games like that. Holy cow, we've yapped for 45 minutes just talking about how dystopian the world is and fucking rich people. It's super fun, but you're really stupid. No, you're not, Ellie. You're smart because you're smart, if nothing else, because you watch me. Cultured individual. Cultured individual for watching me. Okay. We've yapped for 45 minutes. Maybe I should at least start moving us towards talking about thermal expansion. 'Cause, you know, ash gets bigger when things get hot. Wait, what? Huh? I did not say anything weird. I'm say so. Yeah, Perry. I'm sorry. I got distracted. We got distracted. Let's talk about thermal expansion. And I think this is a well-known enough... Sorry. Always forget to start a new line. This is a, like, relatively well-known enough concept in terms of just science. But there's some, like, interesting stuff that we do with it when it comes to engineering, right? But anyway, thermal expansion, if you're unfamiliar with the idea, is the idea that when you heat things up, they increase in size. Like I said, when she gets hot, ash gets bigger, if you know what I mean. sorry. Anyway, and at a fundamental level, how you can think of it is you've got like a bunch of atoms, right? Everything's made out of a bunch of atoms. And normally, when things are at, you know, whatever standard temperature you assume they are, they move around a little bit, right? They bounce around, you know, do, right? That's sort of what temperature is. It's more or less about the average energy they have, and more energy means they're moving around, bouncing around more. Makes your car explode when you replace the oil with Kool-Aid? I mean, I don't know what kind of Kool-Aid you're drinking, but my Kool-Aid ain't explodey. But if you think about it, right? Like, when you heat them up, they're gonna start moving around more, right? If you add more heat to the system, that's more energy. Then instead of bouncing around, you know, this much, they might bounce around a little bit more, right? And that's sort of like how, if you have an elevator full of people, right? And they're just like normal, ordinary people. You might be able to pack some number, let's say 10, into the elevator relatively comfortably. But if you had some elevator full of fucking crazy people, right? And they're just flailing around. They are literally just throwing their arms and legs in every which direction. You probably can't fit as many people in there because they're just gonna start hitting each other, right? Because the guy here, if he's flailing around, really occupies like this much space, right? And then now you only fit like 4 or 5 people in the elevator. So that's the idea that, like, as you heat these atoms up, as you give them more energy and they get more bouncy, they get more flaily, it... Cleanse thy mind. Cleanse thy mind. As they get more bouncy, they take up more space, and that causes your item, which is made of molecules and atoms, to be larger. Right? So how do we use this? Okay? I think in my title on my schedule, which I definitely didn't mess up my schedule when I first posted it. Definitely didn't do that. I talked about tempered glass. So tempered glass is one of the ways that we abuse thermal expansion. It's not a bell stream without it. Is that my call sign now? Accidental booba picture? Hi, Gojo. Hi. We're talking about tempered glass. So if you have normal glass molecules? Atoms? It must be molecules, because glass isn't an element, right? Normal glass molecules, right? And this is just glass. And then we'll do... This is all one big blob. Hold on while I manage my layers to do this in a way that looks good. Hopefully. We have our thing of glass. Okay? What we are going to do... Oops. Is we are going to heat our glass up to, like, melty temperatures. Not necessarily... like true super melty, but like you could heat it to true super melty. And then, so they're hot. Sorry, I have to do the outside ones first because the way I manage my layers. And they're hot, so they're all red. And because of thermal expansion, what happened is they got larger too. Right? Now, with our big glob of hot melty glass, what we are gonna do is we are going to dunk it in water while it's all hot and melty. I'm not asking you anything, Allie. Frick you. Frick you! Thanks for the cat mode, by the way. We are going to dunk our hot melty glass in water, and that is going to rapidly cool the outside. Right? Because just almost instantly, right? The water absorbs all the heat from the outside of the glass. And so the outside hardens, while the inside is still hot. No, it is still large, right? Because it couldn't shrink back. It couldn't shrink back because if it shrunk back, it would be intruding on the space of the hot melty glass on the inside. Okay? So the outside has hardened in this expanded state. Hard and expanded like Ash every Friday night. And now what we do is we take it out of the water and we allow it to cool slowly. The rest of it. The inside of it will slowly cool. Right? Actually, I don't even know if you need to take it out of the water. But the point is the outside cools and hardens really quickly while the inside doesn't. And so what happens is the inside, as it slowly cools, tries to pull in. right? Because the opposite of the thermal expansion is happening. It's now like calming down, so they're starting to suck back together. And the inside tries to pull away from the outside. It leaves a bunch of empty space. Or it tries to leave a bunch of empty space. We're talking about tempered glass, Gojo. But we can't just have, like, true vacuum, right? So what's really happening is you have some vacuum and this inside... Thank you for the biddies! Thank you for the biddies, Gojo! Okay, let's unlock this. So, this inner part, the inner part that was hot and has now slowly cooled, right, wants to be this smaller shape, but it's also sort of being held big by that vacuum and empty space, right? So it's somewhere in the middle, but it wants to be small. It wants to be small, but it's sort of being stretched out because there's too much space there, right? So the idea is this inner portion, right, is getting pulled outwards. Meanwhile, the outside portion, remember, was forced to cool and harden larger than it wanted to be, right? It wanted to get smaller, but there was no way for it to get smaller. But it wanted to be smaller. So the outside is under what's called compression. So now you have this interesting shape of glass where in your big thing of glass, this outside portion is under compression, while the inside portion is under tension. Whoops. While the inside portion is under tension. And this is like a pretty common idea of mixing things that are under tension with things that are under compression. It's what we do to reinforce concrete, right? So concrete that's been reinforced has generally steel in it. Steel is good under tension. Concrete is good under compression. You sort of mix those two together and you end up with something that's good under both, right? Because what you can do is you can stretch the steel as it's put into the concrete, and then it'll be in tension and it'll constantly pull inwards on the concrete. And then the concrete will always be in compression. So they'll both be under in the scenarios that make them strongest, right? But by doing this to this glass and creating this shape that has the outside under compression and the inside under tension, you manage to keep stresses on both that glass is oddly good under. Glass is like oddly very good under pure compression and pure tension. It's just really bad when you subject it to moments. So what you do is you force it to be under compression in the middle, or on the outside side, and you force it to be under tension on the inside. And together those two help to prevent it from being under like crazy moments. Does something similar happen with welds? Okay, so welds is not necessarily the same, but there is like the idea of the warping, right? If you've welded before and you've welded things that are like not properly secured, right? You might notice that the heat on the metal, if it doesn't spread, you know, at good rates, will warp the metal. And that's sort of similar in that, you know, part of the metal is expanding while other parts aren't, and that's what causes it to warp. But it doesn't necessarily make it stronger in that case, right? That just changes the shape. I think slightly different than the warping of the metal, in terms of something similar to this, is there are heat treatments for metals that do something similar to this. right? So, I mean, I think it's not entirely the same, but the whole idea of rapidly cooling different parts does happen. That is something we take use of when we heat treat certain things. And my example of this is, I understand katanas, right? Katanas, swords made in Japan, right? What they did was they did something similar where they apply, like, I think it's like this clay-like substance to the blade sides of their swords, right? Because they have like a blade side which is meant to be hard steel, and then like the back side, the like flat, which needs to be a little bit softer, but the softness makes it more malleable and less brittle. So what they do is they like apply like the clay-like substance, and that changes how quickly it absorbs heat. So when they quench it, when they stick the sword in the water, the part that's covered in clay cools down at a different rate than the part that isn't. But yeah. But that's like a really common thing, especially in anything that deals with like mechanical structures, is this idea of mixing things that are under tension with things that are under compression. You sort of stress them both, because when they're stressed, they tend to do better in a lot of situations. I don't really know how to explain it well, to be honest. But especially when you study material science, you come to realize some things are specifically better in compression, or specifically better in tension, right? That example of the reinforced concrete, right, is because concrete is known to be better under compression than it is under tension. And steel is known to be pretty good under tension. So that's why we intentionally put those two that way. Yeah, I'm aware of that effect too, Mystery. It's like, I don't even know the name of the effect. I know what you're talking about though, right? It's like if you have a hot pan, you have a super mega hot pan, right? Because you've got fire under it. If you put liquids in at a certain temperature, I think water works. The bottom of it boils, and then you get like a pocket of air. And that pocket of steam keeps it off of the metal. It's like some cool, interesting stuff. Science is pretty funky, guys. Science is pretty funky. And then you end up with like, that makes it super, I think people use that to make things super, what's the word? It's like super low friction, right? Because they're no longer rubbing against each other. It literally just freaking, it's like floating. It's floating the same way that like your air hockey table, the puck is getting like, is sort of floating from all the air that's being blown up from the bottom. Ice skates? I think ice skates work a little bit differently. Ice skates, what my understanding is like you have the ice, and what happens is, with the blade exerting massive, massive pressure on one spot, the ice in this spot actually melts. And then it's water. And the friction of water over ice is like really, really low. That's my understanding of how ice skates work. Yeah. Which is not quite this. Maybe it is sort of the same. It's not gas. No, it's liquid, right? And then it's water instead of like water vapor. But I guess it is sort of the same idea, in that you force a phase transition at this one spot. And that's purely, like, it turns into water purely because there's so much pressure on it. They use this principle to guide water droplets up a set of mini steel stairs? Wait, which principle? The, like, really hot principle? Or some other principle? How did they guide it upstairs? I'm very interested now. I'm very interested right now. Leidenfrost? Oh, yeah. That's the... I think that's the, like, really hot one, right? That's the name for it. Leidenfrost point, according to Google, is 193 degrees Celsius for water. That's, just casually almost... Actually, I was about to spout information. I was going to say almost double boiling temperature, but really, if someone says double the temperature, you can't ever really say double the temperature unless you're talking about, from absolute zero, right? That's the only temperature that makes sense to really, like, say, oh, it's double, and double boiling temperature from absolute zero would be like 100 plus 270, that's be like 400 degrees Celsius. Cause boiling point is 372, if I remember right. 372. Double that becomes like 750. And then you subtract the... I guess, yeah. I think. Anyway. That was my short thing on, like, how we can manipulate thermal expansion. I mean, the other thing that we can do is, like, when you have something that needs to be a really tight fit. If you have, say, like, a circular pin that needs to be a really tight fit in, like, a metal plate. What you can do is you can heat the metal plate, and when the metal plate gets bigger from thermal expansion, the hole in the metal plate also gets bigger. It widens slightly, which maybe to some people doesn't seem right. You might think, oh, since it gets bigger, the hole should get smaller, right? It should have more mass, so the hole should get smaller. But that's not the case. That's not the case. When there's holes and you heat them up, the holes get bigger too. So if you heat the metal plate up, that makes the hole bigger. And then if you take the pin, right, the pin that was supposed to be in the middle, and you cool it down, the pin gets smaller, right? So if you really heat the plate and you really cool the pin, you can make the pin smaller and the plate bigger, and then you can put it in, and then when they return to normal temperature and they return to their normal sizes, the plate squeezes back down and the pin expands, and then they're nice and snug. Nice and snug, just like me and your mom. Nice and snug. What do you mean, why, Gojo? What do you mean, why? Gojo, you already knew all this stuff, didn't you? You were a mechanical engineering major just like me. Why? I don't know. Who knows anything anymore? There's so many weird things that we do to to bind things together. But if you need a tight fit, probably, I would assume it can be better than just a normal press fit if you do that. I'm sure you also have to do it very carefully to not end up with something that's too tight and then it warps both, or it damages both. But I don't know. I haven't actually done that before. I just know it's something that does happen. Just something that does happen. brain not working? My brain's working never, Gojo. My brain's working never. Thank you for the biddies. Thanks for the biddies, Gojo. Making it rain. Gojo's tired from building killer robots? I don't know about you, but building killer robots sounds super freaking fun, and it wouldn't tire me out. It would make me really excited. Make me really excited. Do you guys ever see like the when you're scrolling through your YouTube shorts, do you guys ever see the battle bots? The battle bots battles? Those are in my algorithm right now. Also, a lot of poker stuff for some reason. I don't know how poker ended up in my algorithm, but poker's popping off in my algorithm. And you know what they call it when you have the best hand? The best hand is apparently called the nuts. It's called the nuts. Yeah, thank you for the nuts. You've got a crazy good hand, I guess. Royal flush right there, royal flush. BattleBot build hand cam stream. I mean, I think those are really expensive to build. I'm sure they must be really expensive. And from my understanding, they're actually crazy heavy. Crazy heavy. I hear some of those are like 300 pounds when you watch the TV shows. Just make it cheap. Also, are you just trying to see my hands? You just trying to get a look at my skin?
Not nearly as heavy as Belle's mom.
I'ma tell her you said that. You better get running. You better get running. 'Cause she's rolling your way as we speak. She's rolling after you right now. Blocks have been decimated already. One sec. I wanna get through a couple more levels of Turing Complete too tonight. Turing Complete. Learn more about how we build processors. Oh no, she's gonna show us a picture of... No, I would never. I would never. Do you know how much space a picture of my entire mom would take? That's like 600 terabytes to show all of her. You need those fancy magnetic tapes to store the data. Full circle. Full circle. Do I have a tactic for Turing Complete? I mean, my tactic for Turing Complete is sort of imagine some idea and then try to create it. And then when it doesn't work, cry. Cry immediately. I mean, it's basically just software engineering at that point, right? It's basically just software engineering at that point. I'm pretty sure that's how software developers work, is they build something and then they run into a bug and they just immediately break down crying and not knowing what went wrong. One sec. Have to change the category. Thank you. Thank you for throwing things at me. Today has been pain and suffering because that one question on the exam that made 0 sense to literally everyone I talked with. What type of exam were you taking? Huh? What were you doing? Was it math? Was it meth? Was it linear algebra? Guys, I have linear algebra homework due in 3 hours. And thank you for constantly throwing stuff at me, Gojo. Thank you for constantly throwing stuff at me. Fluids? Heck no. No fluids. No fluids. Gojo, what was your least favorite class? Heat transfer? Heat transfer was like notoriously hated at my school. But I think my real least favorite was the lab class. Doing labs was awful. You didn't understand your math exam? Skill issue? What did you not get? What question didn't make sense? Maybe one of these days we should do like a homework helping stream. Or maybe it won't make sense to me either. The instruction input component has been removed. It has been replaced by a program component. Every tick, use the computer to load the next instruction from the program's memory. You must use the counter component you unlocked earlier for this level. No! Okay, this looks so menacing, chat. This looks so menacing, chat. You'll draw a diagram and put it on Discord? Which lab, though? I mean, we had a general lab course, Gojo, where we did a bunch of different labs. I think the worst one of the individual labs that we did in the general lab course was one on water pressure and losses and major losses and minor losses and head and all those sorts of... It was really bad because it was messy and it took forever. Water everywhere. We needed a mop. But there's other stuff we did in that lab. We did accelerometers to judge like spring dampening ratios of like dropping accelerometers on foam blocks. It went snuggy. I feel like half the time I'm quote unquote teaching, other people are teaching me. Lab reports suck mystery? Yeah, I think labs are the worst. Like, okay, labs are sort of cool and they're like the most hands-on you'll ever see any of the things that you've been taught. But lab reports suck. And doing labs sucks. Attracted to the mess? Okie dokie. So, where's the counter we made? Where's the counter? All adder, 1-bit decoder, 3-bit decoder. 8-bit counter. Okay. Replace the input code with the program component. So this is the input code, I think. and we just give it the 8-bit counter as its input? That way, when the 8-bit counter goes from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, the program will go from address 1 to 2 to 3 to 4, right? I think. The writing killed you, Gojo? Yeah, the writing did kill me. You know what I hear nowadays? I hear people do stuff like their reports with ChatGPT. And I want to say that's cheating, but I also don't think it's cheating. I'm sort of jealous, I'm not gonna lie. Do I still have the other outfit? Why are you asking? Why are you asking? Hmm? Care to explain why you're asking? This is the problem, is it always causes my VTube Studio issues. Nah. Is this what you wanted? Is this what you wanted? Take it in. Rare treat. Rare treat. You're lucky. You're lucky you get to see the other outfit. Snuggy, what are you staring at, huh? Can't tease you with diagrams forever? Well, maybe I'll have something cute cooked up for next Tuesday, our pre-Halloween stream. I have some cool teaching ideas sort of cooked up, but I'm not sure if I'll be able to follow through on them because they need some work still. Need some work still. Okay. Wait, is that all there was to this level? That's all it was. All we did was increment over... Okay, whatever. Whatever. You make it look really scary and then it's just connecting one part to another. Okay, I need to quickly check the Discord, so I'm turning off screen share before I inevitably ruin something. A tight belt is pulled around a large pulley and a small pulley. The belt wraps 2/3 of the way around the large pulley and 1/3 of the way around the small pulley. The large pulley has a radius of 50 cm and the small pulley has a radius of 10. Oh! I think we can do this. Is the game frozen? Are you stupid? Oh, shoot. Maybe freaking my screen capture wasn't working. Anyway, 1 second. Uno momento. Let's really quickly... attempt to tackle skill issues homework problem. Do, 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 do. Okay. So for those of you who did not see his problem is big circle, little circle, with a belt around them both. And I haven't fully really thought about this, but I think we can tackle this. Alright, belt around the two circles. Big one has radius 50. Wow, we need to use the smaller brush. 10. Radius 50. Small one has radius 10. Clearly not to scale. Around the large pulley, it wraps 2/3 around large and 1/3 round small. Okay. Let's see if we can do this. So 2/3 around the large pulley is... We'll go back to our circle real quick. 2/3 around, 2/3 equal to 240 degrees, right? 2/3 of 360 is 240. Which means there should be 60 degrees off vertical for each of them. So this should be 60 degrees. This should be 60 degrees, right? Let's maybe use some other colors. And that means this is 120 degrees. And this is 120 degrees. Okay, that seems right. I think, with me so far. Too many questions that take several minutes for each question. I mean, that's what I sort of like. I sort of like that you have to take a hot second to think about it. Large one is the exact same thing, but with 1/3. Or small pulley is the exact same thing, but with 1/3. Which means 1/3 means 120 degrees here is where the belt goes from blant to blant. Okie dokie. So what do we know about this? Wait, how? Okay, real quick skill issue. How much trig do you know? Do you know trig at all? I think we've got a solution. Like, I think we have a straight up solution. But there's serious math involved here. Okie dokie, perfect. You know basic trig. Alright, so let's break this down. Again, on the top circle, right? If the top circle is centered at... Let's go to black. We'll do lines. Top circle is centered at 0, 0. Eh. And we've already shown some geometry, right? We've shown that it is the belt connects to, like, here. 60 degrees off. Or, I guess 60 degrees is, like, here. Better to scale. What does that make this chunk? Skill issue? Do you know? I mean, a right angle is 90. We know that this chunk is 60. So what's left is 30. Okay? Perfect. So if we said that our center was at 0, 0, what is the coordinate of this location? The x-coordinate of this location will be... How big did we say the big circle was? Big circle was 50 cm. So radius equals 50 centimeters. X location is 50 times... is it sine? No, it's cosine. Times cosine of 30 degrees. Right? Does that make sense? Do you understand the trig here? This dimension is the radius times cosine of that angle. The y location is the same thing times sine of 30. I guess it's negative 30. Okay, so you have the coordinates here. Not expect circle geometry? Wait. What do you mean not expect circle geometry? So are you saying you should not be treating these as circles? Or we should not be using trig? Is there a way to do this without using trig? I think there is. Let me think about it for a moment. Doing this without trig. You can do it with some assumptions, I think. I feel like you do need some level of trig. Okay, let's try without trig, though. If that's what you need, right? So this is 60 degrees. That's 60 degrees. This is... I guess 120 degrees here? 120 degrees? What we need to do is we need to break this into triangles. Which is going to suck. So that we can get... we want a triangle that looks like... this. A triangle that looks like this. But how do we get where we want to be? Sorry. It not being to scale, of course, makes it look weird, right? But really, what you want is some triangle that looks like this. And I feel like not being able to get this triangle without trig becomes very difficult. Can we do the Pythagorean with 80 as one side and 50 minus t as one side? Or 50 minus 10? Damn. I mean, 80 is a bad choice here, right? 80 is, if I remember right, 80 is how far away each circle is. So why you can't use 80, right? This is our length 80, is that this is off, right? It is not directly on the side. And this is off directly, not on the side. But they are not off by the same amount. Right? This one is off by a larger amount than this one. So this triangle that we talked about has a length here that is not 80. I think it is less than 80. What can we do? We can make a right triangle. Sorry, getting messy again. Getting messy again, but math is messy. And I don't know what happened to my color selector, but not having my color selector also makes things messy. So we do this again. There should be a theoretical triangle here, right? Which is right triangle. Oh, I see how we do this. Okay. Okay, so big circle has radius. Big circle has radius 50. I think I see what you might be talking about with the 50 minus 1. I don't think 80 is the correct number, though. But I see what you're talking about. Okay. Big triangle is 50. Or big circle is 50. Little circle is 10. So there should be a rectangle that looks like this, right? Now, what is this distance? Is the question. Is there a... Did I overcook here? I feel like there's something here. Pythagorean theorem seems to not be the way. No, there's for sure something here. I'm just trying to think about what it is. Oh, I've got it. Okay, I think you did like sort of cook something right. Okay. So we created this rectangle. And oh no, where did my colors go? Frick. There should now be a triangle, right? There should now be a triangle that looks like this, right? Where this length is... Yeah, were you actually just straight up right, Ellie? I see what you're talking about now. So this length of the triangle should be 50 minus 10. This should be 80. Yeah. You are on the money here. And then you can use the Pythagorean theorem to find this length. You're on the money here, Ellie. Really good. Which should be the same length as this, because it's a rectangle. Yes, 80 is the hypotenuse. Okay, skill issue, did you follow? That was a really good solution, Ellie. It took, like, I had to really construct it to understand what you're saying, though, right? Because we'll construct it with the line tool now, since the line tool is cleaner. We know that that's 50. We know that there is some rectangle here that is rectangle 10 here and whatever length we're looking for. Which means this is 10. This is 40. And then this is 80. You didn't use 80 as the hypotenuse? But you cooked a good solution though, Ellie. Like, you should be happy. You did a really good job. Okay. So here's your no trig required solution skill issue. You use the Pythagorean theorem with 80 squared equals 40 squared plus L squared, right? For this triangle. What color do we use? We use this, like, magenta, right? You use that to find the last length of this. And that's the same as L. But that's a cool problem, right? I think it is, like, you see obviously how drawing diagrams really helps, right? Which, again, if anyone wasn't here when I was answering the engineering student questions, diagrams #1 most important skill. Diagrams #1 most important skill for sure. 2 pi times 50 times 2/3. Yep, that's the length around the big circle. 2 times 10, 2 pi times 1/3 plus. Yeah, that's right, Ellie. Good job. I mean, like I said, I probably would have still just, like, I would have brute forced like this. Just because it took less thinking. It was an immediate, like, I immediately know the sledgehammer solution, right? Is to calculate all the coordinates. And the coordinates are not hard to calculate, right? But this makes it pretty intuitive. Wish your diagrams were a piece of art, not a mess. I mean, Gojo, my diagrams are a mess. I don't know what you're talking about. These are for sure a mess. And I don't know why you're glad you dropped out, Ellie. You clearly are good at this. You're a good problem solver. All my viewers are. All my viewers are, I'm sure. You're all excellent problem solvers because you watch me. Because you watch me, you have to be a cultured, logical thinker. Lies? I'm not lying. I'm not lying. I'm telling you the truth. Sketches don't have to be perfect? No! Exactly. They don't have to be perfect. You're sure you got around 19 out of 20 on the exam? Or 19 to 20 out of 24? So each of those questions is 4%. You missed 4. You got like a... You got like 80% or lower. I think you can do better. I think you can do better. Push yourself to be better. Rich man Elon should make all the professors cat girls. Chat, if you want more cat girl professors, clearly I'm the way to institute that, right? Spread the good knowledge of how amazing I am. How amazing I am. Cat girl who helps you with homework problems. Cat girl that helps you with homework problems. A derived grade? They'll use the grade you get if you can't do the real exam in 2 weeks due to sickness. Wait, so this is not the real... This is a makeup test that you take before the actual test? How does that make sense? How does that make... Shouldn't your makeup test be after the actual test? Like, wouldn't... I feel like if that was the case, I would do this test, and if I got a good grade, I would just not show up. I would just not show up to the actual test. Super smart home. I don't know. I don't know if I teach you guys anything. Maybe I'm just wasting oxygen yapping. Wasting oxygen energy. Probably wasting less energy than that guy who transfused away all his plasma and replaced it with albumin. Have I ever thought of doing YouTube vids on problems like that? I mean, I've seen YouTube videos and I think they're cool. I don't know if I do them well enough that I could make YouTube. Like now that we have an answer, we could create a YouTube vid. Do you guys think I should? I would occasionally. Occasionally. Also, my big dread with YouTube videos is editing. Which I'm like 70% there to being convinced that I should just not... Because they're like, it's like paralyzing fear of editing. And I'm like 70% convinced that right now I should just accept that I never want to edit and hire an editor right now. I teach well? I don't know. I'm glad you guys think so. I'm glad I can sort of help you guys. I really like this problem. I think this is a cool problem. Doing it this way. And like I said, Ellie, I think you should be proud. You did a really good job. You cooked a good solution. I don't think... if you do homework help videos, right? If you do homework help videos, an obvious big demographic of your viewers is going to be like students, aka possibly children. You want me to teach children in that outfit? But I do think helping people with homework would be like really good content, to be honest. Then I need to be teaching something like multivariable? Yikes. Yikes. Recently I've been working on a class that uses a lot of linear algebra. So my linear algebra skills are kinda strong right now. But I don't want to teach linear algebra. Do you guys know about eigenvectors and eigenvalues? Do you guys understand what I'm talking about? Or do I sound like I'm making words up? It's probably better for your existence if you don't know. But I feel like I might have triggered Vietnam flashbacks in Gojo. Okay. You know, I'll very briefly introduce you to them, Skillish. And then maybe you'll hate me. Maybe you'll hate me. Okay, so you understand the idea of a vector, skill issue, right? A vector is like, in some senses, an arrow, right? It has direction and magnitude. So if we plot like a graph, right? We have our axes. If you see a matrix, you're leaving. Okay. Alright. So we have this vector here. And what you might normally in school have thought of as this point, right? This point we'll say is 2, -1. Right? I think it's 2, -1 is how you describe it in normal Cartesian coordinates. 2D. We're not touching 3D yet. You could also describe this as what's called a vector. And you could say your vector looks like this, 2, -1. And that consists of two components. It's an x component and a y component, right? So you have what are considered vectors is like, you could define vectors as like being these sets of multiple things. Now the direction, thank you. The direction is defined mainly by the ratio of these, right? That's what defines the direction of your vector. The magnitude of your vector is like, you do the Pythagorean theorem, and that gives you the magnitude, right? Okay. So here's where I guess Ellie freaking Ellie maybe leaves right now. There's this thing called a matrix. And a matrix in some sense is like a function. So a matrix would be like A, B, C, D. With actual numbers, I'm just using variables because... Actually, I won't use variables. I'll use random numbers. I'll use 5, 6, 7, 8, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, right? So the idea of a matrix is like... A matrix is something that you can multiply against stuff. And in that way, it's sort of a function, right? So what happens is you use this matrix and you plug different vectors into it, right? So you have your normal vector. And then you do what's like considered, I guess it's called, is it called matrix math? Anyway, there's like fancy ways of doing this math. And that will give you a different result, which I think in this case is when you do the matrix math, it's row by column. So 5 and 6 is this row, and this column is 2 and 1. 5 times 2 is 10, and 6 times 1 is 6, and you add those together and it gives you 16. 7 times 2 is 14, and 8 times 1 is 8, so that gives you 22. So you put in this 2, 1 vector, and it gave you this 16, 22 vector, right? So in that way, this matrix is a function. You've put something in and it put something out. It put out like your mom puts out. So the idea of an eigenvalue and an eigenvector is for a given function, for a given matrix, right? 5, 6, 7, 8. There is some vector question mark, where what you put in and what you get out have the same direction. Right? Because no matter what you put in, you're going to get something out. There's some vector that you can put in here. We'll call it vector A, B. And it will give you, like, we'll pretend that it doubles it. It will give you 2A, 2B. Or practically, it doesn't have to be 2. It could be any value. It really should be like an X, which we're just adding more and more letters, and that's making it more complicated. But the idea is you put in a vector, and all it gives you is it gives you the same vector, but bigger or smaller. The same direction. So the vector you put in is called an eigenvector. And that's specific to each matrix, right? A given matrix will have very specific eigenvectors. And the amount that your vector grows or shrink is called the eigenvalue. Now this is like a really... It's sort of a dumbed down explanation. But that's actually all there is to it. That is really all there is to it. It is not that complex, but this is literally college level math. Right here. Yeah, you're right, Ellie. Linear algebra, that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. But anyway, the use of this, of eigenvectors and eigenvalues, are you going to use this skill almost ever? Probably not. Like 90% chance, no. Even as an engineer. But there are some times where the answer is yes. And there's some fancy things that you can do with this sort of math, with these tools at your disposal. Need to catch up? I mean, I don't know. I think this is totally forgettable. This is totally... In my 5 years so far in engineering, I've not used this in my professional career once. But the reason I know it is because I understand the very few niche situations where this becomes useful. So, have you done any physics skill issue? I've realized that I've fucked up the wrong layer of this so bad it's easier to just make a new one. If I want to draw more. I don't know if you've done any physics at all, skill issue. But like one of the first things you'll learn in physics mechanics is how springs work. Maybe not the very first. You learn like laws of forces. But springs have a force equal to negative kx, k being what's called the spring constant, and generally what this idea is... Sorry. I need this to be cleaner. Force is equal to negative kx. And it looks kind of scary, but all it is the idea that if you have a spring, and what you do is you stretch it out, right? So now it is displaced or stretched out x, then the amount of force that it's like pulling is proportional to that, right? The force is proportional to the displacement. Okay? And then you'll end up learning that there's all sorts of like motions that happen in this, and there's ways to predict the way that things are moving, where you can do fancy, you could say fancy or you could say basic, right? You could do different ways to predict how this block will move back and forth if you stretch it out and you let it go. That's called oscillation, right? It goes back and forth and oscillates. And how you can describe it at any given time is based on where the block is, which is position, and how it's moving, which is the derivative of position, or its velocity vector, its change. That's a frick. It is a resistor, but in this case, it's a spring. I hate you because frick you. My diagram is clear enough. It's described by. Sorry, I should use a different color. It's described by its position, and it's also described by which direction it's moving. In other words, what's called the derivative of its position, or you could say its velocity, right? That's x and x dot meaning the derivative of x. And then what you can do is you can create a vector consisting of this, where your vector consists of x and x dot. Now that's a vector. And then you can do crazy stuff where the force, if you want a vector that is, let's see, did I do this right? Sorry, I'm computating in my brain slightly how I want to describe this. It should be... Is it x and x double dot? Or is it x dot and x double dot? Freak! Sorry, my brain is slowly frying because I've thought too much about this in the past few days. Homework problem? No, that's the problem. It's not even a homework problem. This was a lecture example. Okay, I think it's x double dot, which is acceleration, right? It's the derivative of the derivative. Frick you! Frick you! I don't even know how we started talking about this. Oh wait, no, I know what it is. Sorry. You can do coordinate changes, is what it is. Is instead of being about x and x dot, you can do a coordinate change where you end up with... You started with a vector with x and x dot, and then you end up with a vector that has different coordinates. It's no longer about x and x dot, and you do that with a transformation. Sorry. Huge tangent, not at all useful because clearly no one here is going to use this ever. Unless Skill Issue grows up to be like a crazy scientist. But there's also stuff like, I guess if we're going to talk about this coordinate change, right? You have normal Cartesian coordinates with x and y. You have polar coordinates, which are like, you know, radius and some level of its degreedness, right? You can create a vector that transforms them, right? Where your input vector is x and y, and then your output vector gives you... Your output vector gives you the polar coordinates, right? This is all gross. You guys are making me feel yicky. Why did we start talking about the stuff? Why did we start talking about linear algebra? Why? Welcome back from ads, Skill Issue. I thought you didn't get ads. Have you been lying? Also, I think I think American viewers without subbies are having ads right now. You mentioned multivariable, and then I decided to invent linear algebra. No comment. No comment. Linear algebra is kind of cool in that you don't need to know calculus, though. It's not that cool because it's still fucking crazy to comprehend. I think calculus is easier to comprehend, I guess. But knowing the mechanics of calculus is kind of difficult. Knowing all the rules, all the chain rules, integration by parts, all the fancy trig substitutions. Frick! Rest in peace, ads. Rest in peace, Gojo. Okie dokie. How are we for time? Oh boy. It's 9:05. Freak. Freak. It's gotten late. It's gotten late. It's Wednesday, your dudes? Yeah, I think it's about time. It's about time for me to start closing down stream. I think tonight's stream was a great stream, though. We talked about so much random bullshit. We talked about so much random bullshit. But I do need to eat, and I do need to do my freaking homework that's due in 2 hours. I hate my life. So the game plan is don't leave. Do not leave. We're raiding. We're raiding. Because we have a good amount of viewers. Okay? Okay? I'm sending you to Pharaoh Vox. He's one of the mods that a lot of these shoujo members use. And he's pretty cool. And I think he's a pretty awesome streamer. So yeah. Yeah. I'm sending you to Pharaoh Vox. I'll be back Friday at 9 p.m. Pacific, Best Coast, West Coast time. If you're East Coast, Least Coast, it's midnight. And, yeah, I'll be back Friday. Hope you had a good time at stream. I'm glad you wasted your life listening to me yap about the most bizarre shit. Be good raiders. Be good to Pharaoh Vox. Alright. And have a good night. Say hi to your mom for me. Okie dokie. Bye bye. Have a good night. See you Friday. Bye. Thanks for watching. Whatcha?
No, not the giraffe.